let me just come to my notes here. It's nice to meet you. Sort of, it all kind of came together a little bit last minute, but here we are.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, did you know that globally we produce approximately 2.0 billion metric tons of municipal solid waste each year? This is a staggering amount of waste, and it poses significant environmental and health challenges, and highlighting the urgent need for sustainable solutions in waste management. And today we have gathered experts here on this panel to explore innovative strategies and technologies that can help move towards the future, where waste is minimized, resources are maximized, and our planet is preserved for generations to come. And with us today, Arantxa, I would love to, hear about you and your journey. Just a couple of minutes, just to sort of explain how you got into Veolia, how you came to work for Veolia.
Okay, so good morning, everybody. I am Veolia just for 3 months, so it's not so
Short
much.
time,
Yeah, but I came from another company, this relationship with the same bat as Veolia, so I know about this.
Great, okay, so your journey has always been in sustainability?
Yeah.
Okay, good. And Frederic, tell us a little bit about your sort of background and how you sort of came to be the CEO at the Neverest project.
Correct, yes, thank you. Good morning, Katrina, and thanks to South Summit for this great event. I'm CEO of the Neverest project, an environmental and engineering technological company facing one of the highest challenges in the world, that is cleaning Mount Everest. You see in the last weeks a lot of videos regarding waste in places in high altitude. We are in this problematic.
Okay, so you're helping with, the sort of base camp of Mount Everest, basically, and making it more sustainable for tourism.
Exactly. The thing is, in terms of few data, interesting data to know a little bit the situation in the base camp.
Yes.
The base camp of the Sagarmatha Park, and especially the Everest base camp and the other camp force, receive per year more or less 50 tons of inorganic waste. There's more than 12 tons of organic waste over there in the base camp. And for example, during the season, we have more than 4,000 pee directly on the floor every day.
4,000?
4,000 liters, exactly.
Liters?
Exactly.
Wow.
So
okay.
we face this challenge with it's something huge. And the problem is, when we talk about waste management over there, I think we need to start from the zero because there's nothing. No? So the challenge is very high. So we are using as a model, a role model, the Everest, with the idea to replicate and implement all this technology and this knowledge to any place and any national park or natural park around the world.
Okay, so just out of interest, why did you choose to work with Mount Everest in particular, rather than sort of, in general waste management, just out of interest?
The reason is, first of all, because it's the icon of the world. No?
Yeah.
I think he represents our icon. I think the Everest is a little bit part of all of us. No? We are all connected with this mountain, and when we saw this kind of news of people consuming nature in this aggressive side, I think it's very interesting to start with this role model, and after this we can replicate this in other places around the world.
Okay, nice. And Arantxa, just tell us a little bit about Veolia and sort of your role there.
Okay. Well, Veolia Group's ambition is to become a reference company in ecological transformation. For all of you that you don't know, historically it's a French company, and naturally European and operationally and international. No? It's present on the 5 continents, and with nearly 220,000 employees all over the world. In 2022, Veolia Group supplied 111 million people with drinking water, and 97 million with water services, and produce about 44 terabytes of energy recovered for waste.
Okay. And so your company is, give some examples of how you are improving, waste,
Okay.
sort of with water, for example.
With what in waste, I am going to talk about Spain because my area of work is Spain.
Of course, yeah.
And in Spain, we have our mission is to landfill zero, because you know that now the Union European directive is going to be applied now, and all of us has this challenge, no? Mm-hmm. And we have three exploitations. One in Madrid, it's called Valdemín Gómez, who receive all the waste from household from the City Council of Madrid. Mm-hmm. And we made incineration, and with this waste, we obtain the electricity in order to produce the heat we need to incinerate the waste.
Right.
This is in Madrid.
Okay.
And
so explain, how that works. Sorry.
After we have also another exploitation in the north, in Barcelona, in Mataró.
Okay.
And
where I'm based.
Yeah, and Mataró really is. We have. This is not only ours. We have 40% of the. It's a UT. Mm-hmm. We are with another company. And there we treat 280 tons of waste that really managed by us. And after we have also 41 tons that they are being for us for other suppliers.
Okay.
And what we do there is we compost. We make methanization and also take energy recovery for this plant. So,
okay.
Our challenge is from the waste to the energy, no?
So you're basically composting the waste to create energy.
Energy.
Yeah, and what sort of energy are you building from it?
Sometimes this energy, it depends on the process. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we use in the cycle that we need energy inside at this moment in order to heat or to manage the waste. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we transform in biogas.
Biogas, okay. And the water here in Madrid is to create electricity. Is that what I understood?
No, the one in Madrid is we use this in our own process. We need it for the incineration of the waste.
Okay. So how do you manage that?
We manage that because the waste we produce, we have a turbine,
yeah.
that it transforms the heat in electricity.
In electricity?
Electricity, it heats the water that we need for incineration.
I see. Okay, very good. So, and sort of, Frederic, sort of explain, what you're doing in terms of like improving waste and, at Mount Everest, for example.
Exactly. In this first stage, first of all, we need to understand exactly the extension of the problematic, because you have a lot of media talking about 50 tons, 30 tons, 60 tons. So we need to have a real field study to define and to get this roadmap. In parallel, we are working, and we're going to present this in the next months, the first sustainable base camp for Everest, in terms of a place where we can manage everything related with your journey in these 45 days in this place, okay?
Right.
So we're going to present this, and we're very proud about this, because I think it's the first stage and the first step to have this relation between tourism and local communities, no?
Very much.
So are they working? So how many out of interest, how many tourists visit base camp every year?
How many? We are talking about 1 million of persons are going to Nepal to make mountaineering activity, trekking, alpinism, a lot of activities. An amazing country,
Amazing.
Exactly.
So how did you discover it? Did you sort of, you went there to climb Mount Everest? Or what?
I went to the base camp 2 years ago. And when I arrived over there, I was surprised. Then this is something amazing because you arrive to a place, you are in 5,600 meters with not too much oxygen and very slowly walking. And suddenly you arrive to a kind of city because you have 3,000 people living there for 3 months. But you have cinemas, you have restaurants, you have 5G, you have everything.
Wow.
So it's so crazy. When I saw all this and how the waste is managed and everything, we need to make something because there's nothing right now. So that's the objective, the main objective of this sustainable base camp.
Right. So how long have you been building this project, and how far are we into sort of making an impact?
We started the Everest project 4 years ago. This project was born for a personal indignation of the situation, of the global situation. So I try to bring the best talent in terms of engineering, in terms of climate change expertise, ambassadors, and trying to face this challenge and try to make this strategy to act and find solutions for the problematic. We already closed agreement with the government of Nepal. Of course, we need to be aligned with the public sector. We are not public, we are private, but we are working in collaboration with the government of Nepal.
Oh, great. And you talked about communities. You know, how do you get them involved? How do you get tourists to help with the local communities, for example?
Our idea of tourism, I think tourism until now need to be updated. I think tourism is very aggressive, okay? The way to make tourism need to have a change, okay? And we go directly in this kind of concept that we are talking right now. This is the regenerative tourism, okay? So leave the place better than you found it, okay? So if I'm going to visit some places, I need to revert my good actions in the country, okay? Proximity, trying to improve local communities, to respect traditions. We need to change our point of view in tourism. So okay. I think it's so important. So what we are doing is explaining to the tourism that you need to respect the place and the way to do things in this country. Okay, because you have a very cultural contrast when you have people coming from, I don't know, United States to Nepal. Without this local knowledge, without these Sherpas, it's impossible to make the summit of the mountain. So you need to respect all this, okay? And that's the way to change this tourism to a regenerative tourism.
Right. Okay. So you've talked about communities at base camp, but how can we promote behavioural changes and encourage individuals to adopt sustainable waste management practices?
First of all, we need to make an awareness individually, okay? We need to call the individual responsibility, okay? People need to understand that governments can help to clean, but if you are not taking your commitment with the environment of the people, it's impossible to make nothing. So we are trying, and we are working with Veolia. I'm very happy to meet today Aranzazu because we are developing an impact engine to understand your impact depending your altitude and your journey, okay? So depending your journey, you have a day impact, and so we can monetize this impact, and what we do is revert this amount and we distribute to education, to local communities, to mountaineering associations, to national park management. This is a little bit the high concept. So we integrate the tourism and they can assist and interact with the country positively.
Right, so you've built an app to measure people's behaviour and sort of how they can improve in terms of their own habits. How is Veolia helping, for example, with people's habits? How are you impacting and how are you helping here?
He's working with the international Veolia, and I think he's trying to improve the system he has discovered.
Exactly.
It's going to make a project there,
Okay.
a pilot.
Right. And Bielo is supporting you, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We need this kind of alliances in these objectives and development goals to have these international companies that support our I don't want to say startup, because I think we are more a necessity than a startup, but we need the help of these companies, because after this expertise, we're going to implement this around the world. So Veolia is around the world, and they can help us to manage all this waste. And not only this, what we do with the waste. Because once we have the waste, we can find a logistical system. For example, we are working with drone companies to put the waste from 5,000 to 2,000, but what we do with this waste. So we need to connect with international companies and find solutions and find energy or find whatever.
Okay, very good. And Arantxa, what are the challenges, for example, and opportunities associated with implementing waste to energy, for example, technologies in different regions?
Now we have the challenge of the plastic. No? As you know now, I thought yesterday or the day before yesterday it was the International Day and with the lemma with no plastics. No,
no plastics.
No
yeah.
plastics, and it's really we have the challenge of recycling plastics. It's not easy. Because when you have to recycle the plastic and they are mixed, it's very difficult. That's why now I think in Spain, at least, the percentage of recycling plastic is about 10%. Though others materials as carton, bricks, and others, it's about 50% of the waste. So we have to increase this.
Okay.
And we have the obligation, no? Because as I said to you, with the Union European directive, we have to arrive to 50% of recycling plastic. Mm-hmm. It's not easy because it's expensive, no? Because the technology is not as easy as the other materials.
Right. So what sort of technology are we talking? How does technology play a role in waste management?
The technology plays the role because all the things you need good machines in order to separate with different lights in order to classify the waste. Mm-hmm. Because there are 7 types of plastic, so really not everything is plastic. No? I was going to ask to Frederick how much plastic did he find was there is.
How much
50% or,
we are talking about, 50%. In terms of data, and that's why we need to make this field study to have the reality. But we are talking about 50 tons per year.
50 tons, wow.
Amazing.
Okay,
so crazy.
Goodness.
In all the region, but it's something huge.
Okay, so how are we regenerating that plastic? I mean, how is technology helping with that?
The technology is helping because now the price of the machines they are lower, and we are. I think that everyone has conscious with this.
Yes.
So Veolia, for example, has bought,
including South Summit.
yeah, there is no water.
Yeah.
So Veolia has bought two industries in Spain, one in Badajoz, Torrepet,
oh yes,
where they recycle 120 tons of plastic by year. So it's the first industry of recycling PET in Spain. Uh-huh. And it helps very much to the companies, to the industry, to agroalimentary industry and the others. And Veolia has also has bought just 1 year ago, at least, not more than a year ago, another company in Seville. It's called La Red, where they recycle all types of plastic, not only PET, propylene and the others. So how we can help? We can help being really the leader of recycling plastic in Spain, and helping the other companies and the other industry, because you know that now I think we have a problem with supermarkets and everything because there is more plastic, And now the families are with less people and everything is so much compartmented, no? And so instead of buying 1 kilo of fruit, you buy three pieces, and they are with plastic.
Right.
So we have to think about this, how we're still alive, how we are buying and so on.
So what would you say are the solutions to improving, buying and sort of, making better decisions when it comes to improving waste?
I think the solution is just to not to put the plastic outside, no? I think, of course, we have to recycle the plastic, but the bad is also not to use as much as we are using now.
Right. So when it comes to personal habits, using, better choices, basically, in terms of materials.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, how are governments supporting, for example, and policymakers, how are they incentivizing businesses and to adopt sustainable waste management practices?
In Spain now, once the Union European has made the directive, all the regions has his own law about this, and they are trying to go out this. Andalusia is just passed 1 month ago, and we are starting now in the way to go together with the same challenge.
Right.
Because it's a question of everyone, citizens, administration, industry.
Exactly.
Yeah. Everybody needs
I
to...
think.
Exactly. No, and I think this is the main thing. We have two things. The responsibility, governments, individual, everyone needs to push on the same direction, but everyone needs to be aligned with the main objective and with education, with whatever, because we cannot point only a government to say this is dirty, you need to clean this. No, I have my responsibility as individual. And the second point, and I think is so interesting, is how we pay this. We are talking about machines, we are talking about implementation, huge companies around the world. What is the cost to clean all this? So we need to have the capacity to create a business with the plastic and the waste management, because if there's no business behind, we cannot depend from a budget of a government. We don't know how many in our budget, how many our needs to clean all this. No, the government of Nepal, for example, or other places around the world, because this problem is not only Nepal; it's around the world. You have Kilimanjaro, you have Mont Blanc, you have McKinley, you have anywhere in the world you have this problem. Nobody knows the real impact in terms of cost. So we need to create this economy, and we can distribute and invest in technology, in engineering, in whatever.
And so who's supporting you, Frederick, for example? How are you getting funded?
At the moment, our kind of startup maybe is a little bit different. We don't want to depend about VCs, because we consider we need to create a business with a very quick front cash, because if not, we depend from VCs, we depend from the global economy, we depend of companies, we depend of everyone. And this is a problem, for example, in Europe. No? You have a government changing, and everything is stopped, everything is down. So we cannot put this critical risk in terms of humanity in hands of changes. No? We need to have our auto-independence regarding economy. No? So now we have a local support. We are not a global company. We just license and we just advise the countries. For example, in Nepal, we work with a local company or an operation company that we support, okay? And we have this support in terms of financial to implement this in Nepal. But we are just born 4 months ago, so probably in the next month everything is going to change.
Right. So, when we talk about sort of challenges, we talked about plastic and water use and waste. What other challenges do you see that we are sort of having to face?
I think that the big challenge, if I look this project in 10 years goal, I think to have the capacity to manage every natural space in the world. Any place, because, for example, in Barcelona, we have Collserola Park, is the biggest metropolitan European park in Barcelona. This park receives more than 4,000 per weekend of people making bikes and hike. This is much more than Everest. And the impact is high as well. Of course, we have resources and we can clean everything, but I think the solution is not to clean. I think the solution is to to send and make awareness. No? Then I think we have these two movements, no? To have a technology that can implement and obtain data and obtain information about how we can manage these parks and make awareness to every individual person to understand in one time that it's good to celebrate the Environmental Day every year from 50 years, but I think when we need to do something, everyone is looking in another place.
Right. So technology can assist with, basically assessing the situation and then creating better habits, basically.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. And, what are, sort of in terms of how can we ensure equitable sort of distribution of waste management services and infrastructure, particularly in disadvantaged communities? Arantxa, can you sort of, how can we manage that in disadvantaged communities globally?
In Nepal, did you say, or all over the world? No.
Just, I'm talking about particularly in disadvantaged communities. How do we manage waste?
Well, I think the problem is that I think that what happened now is that...
Like India, for example.
Like India. I think that the problem is that there is no conscience about this, no. Because the first thing is to have to communicate and to make the education about this. And like Philippines, the other day I see on the TV also it was a film about Philippines and how
in the Philippines
how small people, childs, they were there living in the same house with waste, and it's terrible. But for them, the problem is that everything is very it's very difficult because they don't know really what's the big problem they have. It's going to be if we don't take care about this.
Right.
So it's a question of culture, and the first thing is like here in Spain, no? When you say now I have 3 children, and now sometimes they told me, mother, you don't have to put this in this bottle, this in the other. So it has to be inside each one in order to improve the recycle.
So it's about educating the children, educating the younger people, and changing their mindsets and creating, again, better habits. Yeah. So it all comes down to the individual.
Yeah.
Local communities has a big paper to play. In terms, for example, Nepal, everything related with mountains are very connected with the religion. So they are there to protect and try to be ambassadors of this management. No? So we need to explain in terms of education, and they need to lead this challenge as well, because if the local community and the local knowledge is not in the middle of the problematic, it's impossible to do anything. So it's so important.
Okay. So what would you say to all of us here, in terms of how can we create a better, more sustainable future for each of us? What advice would you give, starting with you, Frederic?
From my side, I think everything is possible, and now times are changing, and I think it's important to let you know that I changed all my life. I come from another sector. 4 years ago, I started this kind of project. Today, I'm doing something totally crazy and totally new. So we have a lot of opportunities in terms of sustainability and project management and whatever. I don't have expertise. I have the expertise to connect people and to bring talent. So I think you are the power, you are the young people, and you can help all this problematic to the world.
Perfect. And Arantxa, just one quick comment?
I think that the future is not a question of the government, or it's a question of everyone, no? And overall, these young people who are listening to us. So the future is a question of we have the same challenge for us, and we have to work for it.
Yeah, so as an individual, we all need to make an impact. Thank you, both of you, and lovely to talk to you.